lying about the bill. Well, we are all going.
And we have Schumer here pointing out that we're all going to die here with this act. Now, I've called this act out for what it needs to be called out for. And I call it the big ugly bill at this point. But it's the fact that it has hidden within it all the tyrannical AI stuff, 43201, that we've warned about many times, that makes this stand out as one of the most evil things ever put out there to be passed, period. So he will not point to that. He will not state that fact. He'll just bring this board out and tell everybody, look, we're all going to die if this passes. What he's telegraphing to you is what's going to happen in the future. It's dystopian. They're going to clamp down with AI like you've never seen before. All these small-minded people are taking whatever little carrots that they're throwing them about how this package is going to be good, and they just are oblivious to the AI threat. It's the biggest threat we've ever seen in any bill. This is why some are separating themselves away from this, like Rand Paul, even Elon Musk. And he won't even point to the AI factor in it. He says it's full of pork, so to speak, which it is. But in the end, the AI is the biggest threat of anything in there, stopping states from overriding the federal government for a decade. It goes down some deep, sinister rabbit holes. And I believe Schumer is telegraphing what ultimately will happen. A lot of people are going to die when this happens, and they're not even ready for it. They're oblivious to the fact. You've got Elon over here lining up Optimus left and right, AI springing up all over the place, which is nothing more than demonic artificial intelligence using these robots. It's like a Frankenstein body to jump into. And when they unleash these on man, your bullets will be useless. It's time to come up with a plan in a way to counter this. But again, most of the crowd is asleep at the wheel. If they pass this, though, most people are going to find out the hard way. And I believe that this is their form of telegraphing it out there. That since the people don't want to pay attention and they just want to let these things get passed on through, in the end, they're making a mockery of it, is how I feel. That we're all going to die act. Well, he's never said that before. And again, there's never been a bill quite like this one. They push through bills with a lot of pork in them. But with this hidden AI surveillance, with 500 billion dedicated to it, people better start doing their homework and catch on quick. Again, salutes to the people out there that are reaching out to their senators. It's not hard to do. Reach out on Facebook, on X, and say, hey, would you please vote no on this? And thank you. And you fought the good fight. And you put pressure, righteous pressure, in an area where it needs to be right now. We've got to stop this from passing. When you hear that this has failed, it is a victory. Do not let pundits or the White House talking piece make you think any different. If this fails, it's a victory for the people. They can pull all this stuff out of it and then take it back and vote on it then. Anyhow, thought it was interesting that they went out of their way to point this out and to telegraph it to a sleeping masses. Join me for the live streams going live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Dabu 77. Much love.
Seems like you always run out of something right before it.
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 8 and verse 25, and it reads, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. First and foremost, as always, in the Lashwan Kadash, being holy tongue, as in the Paleo-Hebrew, being ancient Hebrew, I'm going to give all praises, glory, infinite honor to my power, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom is the God of a living, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Baruch, Barash, but is our praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, in the name of his only begotten Son, Yahushai, and Holy Spirit, who is our strength and our Redeemer, and our light and our salvation. In the same tongue, I'm utter mashana kabadim lahasaquanium shal galarabaka, meaning double honors to the apostles and elder bishops, great millstone, and shalom, honors and salutations to Bayashid Abadah, meaning the house of David, of the 1/3 elect remnant of the nation of Israel, along with the rest of the 1/3 elect men, women, and children of Israel. All right, his fellow servant Malak Rayab, back at it again. Another lesson through the spirit of prophecy, being a testimony of our Lord and Savior, Hamashiach Abishai, who the master of the world, ignorantly referred to Jesus Christ. So just a quick, just a quick video, expounding on, Chuck Schumer, the senior senator, of the Democratic Party, which makes it, which is a part of the minority party of the Senate, being that the Republicans hold about 8 more seats than the Democrats, making the Republicans the majority of the Senate. So that gives the Republicans the advantage of this of Trump's so-called big beautiful bill of Medicaid and Social Security and SNAP benefit cuts, and the bolstering of Esau's military, that much more likely to be passed, with the advantage of the Republicans. Okay, and which y'all don't ratazai, meaning Lord willing, it does pass through the Senate, so this place can collapse that much more quicker. All right, because Chuck Schumer, the senior senator of the Democratic minority party of the Senate, just recently deemed Trump's so-called big beautiful bill as the quote unquote "we're all going to die" bill. Okay, for their telegraphing great death, by way of Esau Edom's politics. All right, because he's another insider, just like this, the CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon, telegraphing death. Okay, and encryptedly warning, the U.S. civilians, these modern day Babylonians, to basically have their heads on a swivel and prepare for war. As it says in Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, we're living in a time of war, not peace and love. All right, so this is on a USA Today entitled "Elon Slams President Trump's Big Tax and Policy Bill as a Disgusting Abomination." It says days after leaving his role in the White House, Elon excrated Trump's tax and domestic policy bill as a disgusting abomination, escalating his criticism of the president's signature legislation over concerns that it will increase the deficit. It says Elon's pointed June 3rd remarks came after Trump held a friendly send-off for the world's richest man in the Oval Office last Friday, and as a second-term Republican president is working to push what he's called his quote-unquote big beautiful bill through the Senate. And Elon is not the richest man in the world. All right, it's really the Zionist bankers who have no limit to their wealth. All right, due to the constant printing of the Federal Reserve notes on behalf of the Fed. All right, it's why they have ultimate influence through every facet of life, through the central banks, through the IMF, through the entertainment, the politics. All right, because they're part of that quote unquote shadow government. So it says, he said, Elon said, "I'm sorry, but I can't stand it anymore." He said in a post on his social media platform X, "This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You did wrong. You know it." And speaking of voting, and this guy W7, was speaking about vote, reaching out to the Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, and trying to convince him to vote against this big spending bill. Neglecting the fact that these politicians don't really have any say so. All right, so because the whole concept of voting is folly and vanity, for the fact that there's no such thing as an election, but rather a selection. That's why for case in point, I remember when I was in the 5th grade, I had a nigga woman teacher that got angry at me for asking her who is she going to vote for between George Bush Jr. and Al Gore, because she knew this system was rigged, it's corrupt, because it's corrupt and biased and unrighteous judgment. Even the nigga woman knew that. So when I asked her, she got vexed, I could tell through, the nigga woman throws attitude and shit. So I could tell through her body language that she was vexed by me asking that question, repeatedly at that. But nonetheless, there's the vanity and folly of voting for these people, just to, to expound, to address, Dabu Seven's, efforts of reaching out to Rand Paul is really null and void. All right. Further uncovering the fact that these people in the world, trust in modern day Egypt, meaning the house of bondage, which is America. All right. Even these so-called truthers, such as him, he's further confirming that they don't have the breath, the Holy Spirit, okay, of this word, including the spirit of, the testimony of Yahweh Shah, which is the spirit of prophecy. Because if they did, they wouldn't be so adamant about, seeking a validation from these politicians, these so-called influencers, in these positions of, prominence and prestige and so forth, because they're all puppets at the end of the day. Okay. So it goes into in Isaiah the 30th and the 31st chapters of, of the vanity and folly of trusting in Egypt, because they're the horses, representing their military might and, their leadership, so-called leadership and influence, you see, because it's all temporary, because they're not the rightful rulers of this earth. It's the Israelites on behalf of Yahweh Shai, who will reestablish the kingdom of heaven, through the house of David, okay, including King David himself ruling over us again. All right. So, but I digress back to this information here. It says, Elon, it says the bill, which cleared the House last month with only Republican support, would extend Trump's 2017 tax cuts, implement new tax breaks for tipped wages and overtime, overhaul Medicaid and food stamps, beef up border security, and significantly increase military spending. Okay, Republican leaders are trying to pass a Senate bill through a filibuster-proof budget process known as reconciliation, right? So part of them beefing up their border security and their increase in military spending would include the implementation of AI, as Dabu 7 was pointing out. All right, that's why the military and Esau's law enforcement has been, relying on the very military spending through these tech moguls such as Boston Dynamics, Elon's Tesla, company, and the Neuralink, and this goes into, his, the entire, his ultimate significance in being a government official, on behalf of Doge, Department of Government Efficiency, to cut federal spending at the expense of many federal workers. So it's all a part of the Hegelian dialectic. At the expense of many lives, they will they will bring forth this necessary change, because as Winston Churchill pointed out, never let a good crisis go to waste. OK, so whether, Elon's departure from the Trump administration was another controlled opposition tactic, is still spiritual of the division and destruction of Esau, Edom's empire. OK, it says in Isaiah the 19th chapter, how Egyptian will be set against Egyptian, as in bondmen against bondmen, slave owner against slave owner, on behalf of these Edomites specifically. Okay. Because really, Elon was a part of the Trump administration because of his, technological expertise in terms of the transhumanism aspect of their satanic NWO agenda, fusing man with machine, ultimately through Neuralink, the Neuralink chip, that Elon's been having a lot of human trials about or for, so that was his whole role, as a former government official. So now supposedly he has beef with Trump, but I'm not even going to entertain that madness. It's really a distraction, but as you can see here in this article. Okay. But anyway, going back here, matter of fact, speak on that government spending, including the implementation of AI. I'm going to play a couple of these videos here, starting with this one.
Two robots duking it out in the ring. These robots were designed by a company called Unitree Robotics. They were kickboxing to demonstrate the company's considerable work making robots that move in a human-like way. One of the most impressive parts to watch was how quickly the droids were able to regain their footing after being knocked to the mat.
That was my first thought seeing this video, is this looks like the most realistic version.
Yes,
they're not as like herky-jerky as we used to see.
Yeah, they're
the robots.
smooth.
Right. Boom, getting right up there.
Yeah.
It also doesn't even look real.
No.
It looks like it's, technology is moving way too fast for you.
Yes.
I agree.
It's cool, but a little scary.
Yeah, a little creepy. Yeah. What happens if they get out of the ring?
Right, exactly.
Stay where they are. That's fine.
So the two news anchors in the middle, to the far right and in the middle, are afraid of the development of Esau's AI, because it's really artificial intelligence, the demonic intelligence, is part of the essential devilish wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of this world that has made Esau wiser than Daniel on the left-hand side. Okay, pursuing Ezekiel 28:3. that is making these people afraid. Okay, because like they said, the news anchor to the far right said, it almost doesn't even look real. That whole video looks like an AI simulation. So so Esau has that power on the left hand side through his satanic devices that's spooking a lot of these people, all right, including Elon Musk, Elon's Optimus AI robot that he's developed by Tesla, that he said has been designed for quote unquote various settings, including being a personal assistant, just like the predictive programming. In that movie, I, Robot, starring Will Smith, including, Megan 2.0, the first Megan going into, AI and how AI has surpassed its master, which is very detrimental to the world as it's come out. The spirit, which have me further touch on is, along with other Akim, that AI is surpassing the intelligence of these Edomites, which is very, very dangerous and very detrimental to the world. Okay, it's further confirming that this devil, is an unwise king, as it says in Scripture in Sirach the 10th chapter, and this is why this is further, this is a further omen of his downfall and the downfall of this wicked empire. Okay, so these devices. Okay, are going to further bring forth great death, as Chuck Schumer have pointed out. Here's a similar video. All right, on this. Yep. So this is a video entitled "Figures Humanoid Robots Now Walk Like Humans," because they're starting to, further, inherit the, behavioral patterns and traits of human beings, including, in a moral sense, such as lying, manipulating. You see, all these are part of the further developing capabilities of AI. Okay. All right, and this is interesting, as I mentioned, iRobot. Somebody had put up a meme of it. You see, because this is in the back of the minds of the vast majority. A good number of them anyway. Okay, who are less asleep than others, including these so-called truthers. All right, because they're starting to see there's something wicked and there's something strange and eerie about this agenda. All right, including Esau's implementation of AI. All right, within the military, within the law enforcement, and so forth, which is ultimately a part of the terms of Trump's so-called big beautiful bill. All right, and like Dabu 7 was pointing out, as soon as these AI machines, these androids are further released into the public, as we've been seeing them, over there in New York, for example, carrying out warrants and so forth. They have mounting capabilities of having flamethrowers and assault weapons mounted on top of them that will soon be released or unleashed upon the public. Okay. And that's a part, of the vision of Daniel, in Daniel 12:1. Now we're approaching a time never before seen. Okay. That a lot of these people are not ready for, because they lack that, the eye salve, all right, of this vision. As it says in Proverbs 29:18, where there is no vision, the people perish. And that's ultimately the vision in the kingdom of heaven. Okay. Of the righteous being reestablished. All right. All right, of the house of David, of the nation of Israel. All right. And within that paradigm shift of unrighteous rulership to righteous rulership, there's great death being orchestrated, that a lot of these insiders are telegraphing because they see the writings on the wall. All right. So, but yet a lot of these people still trust in this devil, like such as Dabu 7 talking about, getting Rand Paul's attention. Let me see let me jump down here. Yep, here he is. Here's Rand Paul here, the Republican Kentucky senator, and he said, "I agree with Elon. over the weekend, let me see, jump down. I agree with Elon, Rand Paul said in a post on X. We have both seen a massive waste in government spending, and we know another $5 trillion in debt is a huge mistake. We can and must do better, because, regarding these further tax cuts, it's going to further come at the expense of, of this overall budget, which is going to further, speed up this economic collapse. All right, it says here, Elon said it will massively increase the already gigantic budget deficit to $2.5 trillion, and burden American citizens with crushingly unsustainable debt. Musk said in a follow-up post on X, Congress is making America bankrupt. All right. Hey, Shalom to Yakim on the comment board. Yao Bashim Shabakatham, GMS Yao Sop, Hopeful Lek 777. All right. Brother Yao Sop, Brother Amraya, and all those, everyone else who may be tuning in and end up tuning in. Yao Bashim Shabakatham, the water for tuning in. So with that, speaking of the vanity and folly of trusting in this modern day Egyptian empire, play this next video on this KLB 4 Albuquerque, New Mexico news platform.
I feel abandoned by her says she has nowhere else to go. She's currently a student at Job Corps and lives on the Albuquerque campus. Her says she has nowhere else to go.
Let me see if I can wind it from the top. Let me see.
I was almost done here. River says she has nowhere else to go. She's currently a student at Job Corps and lives on the Albuquerque campus. I was struggling with homelessness, lost every other opportunity, and this was the last stop. Come here, get a good job. But now that opportunity is gone. Now I'm being given a hotel voucher and no resources. The Department of Labor.
So clearly you hear the bass in his voice, and it's clearly a transformer. So what it received was judgment. Okay, in terms of facing homelessness. Continue.
Labor announced it's shutting down all contracted operated Job Corps centers nationwide. And no resources. The Department of Labor announced it's shutting down all contracted operated Job Corps centers nationwide by the end of the month. That includes centers in Albuquerque, Roswell, and El Paso, which serves nearly 1,000 students. They were all given until June 6th to leave campus.
These students are leaving without housing, food, transportation, healthcare supports. Some of them were in the middle of their high school diplomas, their GEDs, different trade certifications, and they've lost access to those support systems.
Katie Parent works with students in the programs through the nonprofit Jobs for America's Graduates, New Mexico.
We work to help students who are at risk of dropping out or have dropped out.
She says in her 20 years of working with students, she's never seen a need this large.
We have some students who are not going to have a home as of this week, if not less. We have some students who don't know where their next meal is going to come from.
As Parent works with students like River to make sure they have a place to stay, River says she feels like she has no other options. I feel abandoned by the people that I voted to put in place to take care of me in this country.
Right there, it said it. Let me rewind that a little bit.
These people have nowhere to go, and they're
going to come from.
As Parent works with students like River to make sure they have a place to stay, River says she feels like she has no other options. I feel abandoned by the people that I voted to put in place to.
So the Transformer said it feels abandoned for trusting in people that they voted in place to protect this so-called country, and that's where, and that's the problem. Okay, trusting in oppression. It says in Isaiah the 30th and 31st chapters, and that's a major stumbling block in America, Babylon the Great. All right, including the whole voting aspect of this vain trust and these proud these proud devils. All right, ruling the entire world through their devices. All right, continue a little bit more of this. Let me get a few of these precepts here. See, the brother Amrah put up Isaiah 19:14 says, "The Lord Yahweh by Shem and Shah had mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggered in his vomit." All right, and that perversion is a distortion. All right, unrighteousness, or the distortion of righteousness by the wicked lifestyles being promoted through the sensationalism of Esau's satanic devices to ultimately promote wickedness, iniquity, sin upon sin, which is the standard of America, Babylon the Great. So now these people are starting to reap what they have sown. Okay, so this further confirms these people are not innocent. Even those who end up being put to death, as it says in Job 4:7, who shall perish being innocent. Okay, roughly paraphrasing. So, a lot of these people that are, being laid off, sleeping in their car, despite their, former financial status, like the former singer from En Vogue, the former leading singer from En Vogue, sleeping in the car now, just a further, omen of where this place is really going. Okay, because as soon as this devil really, suspends the Constitution and eventually collapses his economy in America, Babylon the Great completely, it's going to be a war zone, just like in them Purge movies. So anything's going to go. All right, so anybody out there who's not covered by the mark of exemption of the angels of Yahweh Shem Shai in Ezekiel the 9th chapter are going to be up for the taking. All right, and this is a part of that death that Chuck Schumer was telegraphing. All right. Isaiah 19:15, neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail branch or rush may do. All right. Because the labor market is being affected through these layoffs. All right. They're talking about a new breakout, of the pestilence of CV19 over there in the UK and in China, which was going to further lead into, Esau bringing back the face covering requirements. Okay. All right. Just to say it that way. All right. In reference to that M word. Okay. That ends in date, for those who catch my drift. Certain words you can't say to trigger the algorithm of Esau's nanotechnology. But nonetheless, these are the times we're living in, the evil times we're living in, pursuing Ezekiel 7:5 and similar precepts. All right. Why? Because these people live in a perverse lifestyle, including this alternative lifestyle in this alphabet mafia community, which this entire month that we're currently in June is dedicated towards. So these people are not going to be protected by Yahweh Shem Shai. All right. So this, and the elect that may be in that community, the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai is going to bring them out of that community in terms of these, carpet munchers and moles and whatnot. Okay. All right. Whoever that may pertain to. Okay. But this is Isaiah 19:16. It says, in that day shall Egypt be likened to women, and it shall be afraid and fear because of the shaking of the hand of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, of hosts, which he shaketh over it. So Egypt is trembling. Perfect precept. Okay. Egypt, modern day Egypt, the house of bondage, America, okay, is trembling because the overall glory through this perverseness, this false standard of living, okay, through the pleasing of the flesh, of the lust of the eyes and the lust of the flesh, including this alternative lifestyle. Okay, it has it's been a stumbling block to these people of trusting in this devil's system, man, that never cared about them, that gave them liberty, as it says in Second Peter 2:19, for they that promised them liberty are they themselves the servants of corruption. So this devil never gave this world liberty, freedom on the left hand side to be a brute beast, to live wickedly, and perversely to for their benefit. It was rather for their detriment. Now these people are starting to, they're starting to reap the benefits of being wicked. Okay. Being laid off, becoming homeless. All right. Because of the times that we're living in. All right. Continue a little more of this.
Take care of me in this country. These people have nowhere to go, and they're...
We have some students who don't know where their next meal is going to come from.
As parent works with students like River to make sure they have a place to stay, River says she feels like she has no other options. I feel abandoned by the people that I voted to put in place to take care of me in this country. These people have nowhere to go, and they're 16. A lot of people here have never experienced any sort of homelessness and are seeing it for the first time.
All right, that's part of rude awakening. Okay, first time experiences of being downtrodden. feeling abandoned by the very system they trusted in, okay, including those relying on Esau's government assistance programs, which I'm going to get into this next article. All right, this Eve, all right, going viral in this video, warning that she may have to steal after her SNAP benefits were drastically slashed from $738 to just $85. Okay, so it says a viral video featuring a so-called African-American woman expressing her desperation after her food stamp benefits were slashed from $738 to just $85 is sparking widespread conversation online about poverty, food insecurity, and social welfare policy in the United States. In the clip, which has received nearly 50,000 views, the woman speaks candidly to a camera about the drastic and unexpected cut to her SNAP benefits. She describes how the change has left her unable to afford groceries for herself and her family, and adds in a solemn voice that viewers shouldn't judge her if they see her stealing food. Okay, now the Lord said in Isaiah 65:13 that He would feed His elect and not cause them to starve or thirst. Okay, so this Eve has her mind conformed to this world, trusting in the man of sin and son of perdition for security, the modern day Egyptian Pharaoh, okay, the modern day Egyptian ruler, Esau, Edom. All right. It says here, her comments have ignited a wave of responses online, with many social media users expressing sympathy and calling attention to flaws in the current welfare system. All right. It says policy changes behind the cut. The video's release comes in ongoing debate about Trump-era policy changes that made SNAP eligibility requirements stricter, especially for able-bodied adults with independence. Says these rule changes, first introduced during the previous administration and continuing in some states, have led to millions of Americans seeing their benefits reduced or revoked entirely. All right, here's a point here. Food insecurity advocates warn that these policy shifts disproportionately impact low-income families and communities of color. All right, Israelites. All right, that's who they're referring to, who already face structural barriers to employment, healthcare, and housing. All right, through redlining. So somebody said, most likely Edomite, tweeted, "What exactly are we supposed to eat?" Woman says after SNAP benefits cut. As he responded, "Well, dear, that really isn't the government's problem, and judging by the rolls in your chin, some calorie restriction would do you some good." And even though that's funny, okay, this is a part of Esau speaking loftily concerning oppression. Okay, because when we were thriving in a society, especially, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, all right, these devils used this incident of a so-called young Negro male supposedly assaulting a young Edomite woman to justify destroying our communities, okay, that we were thriving economically within, okay, the same similar efforts that they carried out during the Spanish Inquisition, all right, killing the buffalo supply, all right, compromising the crops and so forth, as a part of, genocide through ethnic cleansing of our people. So now they're doing it. Now they're carrying out that legacy politically by the wave of the pen through these immoral decrees, okay, which is causing our people to lash out because they have trusted in oppression. It says in Psalm 62:10. So this is Isaiah chapter 32:5. And it says, "The vile person shall be no more called liberal, nor the churl said to be bountiful." And the Hebrew word for liberal is nadayab, as in noble. All right, that has been a part of Esau's, so-called morale that he's presented to the world as, a humanitarian under the guise of democracy. All right, he cares for your well-being. Yet, as it says in Psalm 55:21, he speaks smooth words like butter, yet hiding war under his tongue, because he's a forked tongue, man. So it says in Isaiah 32:6, "For the vile person will speak villainy, and his heart will work iniquity, to practice hypocrisy, and to utter error against the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yoshai, to make empty the soul of the hungry, and he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail." Now, this is really going into Esau withholding the word from our people, which is likened to a meal. That's why Yahushua said, eat of my flesh indeed and drink of my blood indeed. Okay, because he is a word manifested in flesh. So he was using that parable to say, to plant the seed in the elect of the nation of Israel to be immersed in the word, to consume the word through reading. All right. Mainly through reading. It says in Revelation 1 and 3, blessed is he who readeth. Isaiah 34:16, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read, not one of these shall fail. Now, one of these words of the Lord, Yahweh by Shemeshai, including the prophecies of the word, shall fail. And this is what blesses us and perfects us, and has the Lord Yahweh by Shemeshai draw closer to us as we cleave more onto Him by reading more. Okay, with that eye salve, of that breath, the Holy Spirit. The majority of our people don't have that breath because of the 2/3. That's why they're lashing out, over, lack of support, through through Esau's system that he is using to further oppress our people by cutting off certain programs and benefits. Okay, so this is Isaiah and Shalom, Lion of Judah 144, brother Tazawam, Yahweh Shem Shabrakatah. All right, water for tuning in. This is Isaiah 32:6 from the top. For the vile person will speak villainy, and his heart will work iniquity to practice hypocrisy, and to utter error against the Lord Yahweh by Shemeshai, to make empty the soul of the hungry, and he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fill. All right, more so dealing with the spiritual sense, as he did in the account of First Maccabees 1-56, where during the beginning of so-called white supremacy during the Hellenist period, these devils were going around burning the scrolls, the scriptures, to further to tear our minds away from the Lord, so that way we could worship and reverence them by keeping their ways of their wicked customs and traditions of pagan idolatry, okay, and so forth, and debauchery and perverseness ultimately. Okay, that's why it's not a coincidence. Speaking of which, there's a devil. What's this devil's name, man? What's this devil's name, man? Let me see. What the hell is this devil's name? Yeah, Magnus Hirschfeld. He was a Khazarian doctor, so you can see on the screen here, who founded the first alphabet mafia rights organization in the late 19th century, 1897, and started the modern alphabet mafia movement through science, all right, which means knowledge, okay, all right, on behalf of Esau's pseudoscience, which literally means knowledge of lies. Why is that? Because Esau's manner of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is sensual and devilish. And that's a part of the light being removed from his candles, it says in Proverbs 13:9. This is why he is losing his rulership, losing control of the narratives of the wickedness of his agenda, because it's over for him. Okay. So this is, by way of, his vile, profane spirit being exposed, and America, Babylon the Great, the sinful kingdom, being indicative of his vile, profane spirit, promoting all manners of wickedness. All right. And being that the wages of sin is death. Okay. And the gift of life is eternal through Yahweh Shai, and they don't reverence Yahweh Shai. This is why great death is on the horizon, just like Chuck Schumer telegraphed. Okay. So not only had this devil, look to, practice hypocrisy, by uttering error against the Lord, speaking against the heavens, blaspheming, okay, pursuing Psalm 73:9, such as Yuval Noah Harari saying that they can make God as angry as they want. See, because Esau no longer needs the concept of the Most High in the name of his only begotten Son anymore to hide behind their wickedness. Now they could just be full-fledged devils. Okay, so now they're being more egregious and overbearing with their oppression and affliction, further adding on to the affliction of our bonds, okay, under these curses. This is how they're further, uttering error against the Lord Yahweh by Shemeshai, to make make empty the soul of the hungry, and causing the drink of the thirsty to fail in the spiritual sense by withholding his word from us, and then literally doing that by shutting down this economy. Okay, case in point. So not only in spiritual sense did they do this during the Hellenist period, as I mentioned, going around burning the scrolls, mentioned in First Maccabees 1:56. Okay, they're going to do that. They're doing that now by demonizing us, trying to implicate us on charges associating us with a domestic terrorism. Okay, such as building up these cases with these random 1948 attacks of these Khazarians being attacked in public. Okay, so they can further subliminally tie that oppression they're supposedly going through, you know what I'm saying, by being attacked by being attacked openly, supposedly, with, tying that with us rebuking them for being frauds and not the real people of the book. Case in point. So we're not ignorant of you devil's devices. Okay, this is all a part of how you have caused to make us destitute, not only spiritually but literally. Okay, so this is Isaiah 32:7. The instruments also of the true are evil. He devises wicked devices to destroy the poor with lying words. Even when the needy speaketh right, as Chuck Schumer said, Trump is lying about the big beautiful bill. Okay, by lying about the terms of it. If it's supposedly helping, the U.S. civilians, when it's not even helping the people that voted for him, including these Edomites, on behalf of the right-wing so-called white nationalists. A lot of them are complaining. Okay, because this devil once again is a fork tongue. Okay, but he's really using his satanic devices to, to lie to the poor. Okay, those who are rich that are in poverty is prophesied in Revelation 2:9. The real, the authentic Israelites. Okay, living in these ghettos, these barrios, Indian reservations, these dung hills in 1 Samuel, the 2nd chapter. You know what I'm saying? All right. So the spirit of prophecy is what is further revealing who the true authentic Israelites are and further revealing who these devils are. Okay. Looking to destroy the poor with lying words. As I said in that last article brought out, Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill. Okay. It was set up to mainly affect the impoverished and people and the so-called people of color. Okay, referring to the Israelites. Case in point. Okay, so this is and Shalom. All right, to the brother Damawatia, to the Akim, Damawatia, salvation, the Lek Yahweh, Shema Shabbat what the water for tuning in. So I'm going to continue and see in a little sense, and in a spiritual sense, in terms of this devil looking to make us destitute. Okay, as mentioned in Isaiah 32:6. Okay, is ultimately going to lead into the famine of the word in Amos 8:11. This is why over there in the UK, they've been talking about apprehending street ministers. Okay, and there's a few GMS camps over there in the UK. Okay, then over there in communist China, in Moab, has been talking about banning online sales of Bibles. Okay, then I remember a few years ago, over there in Cali, somewhere in Cali, they had declared the Bible as a weapon. Okay, but but nonetheless, which was a report anyway. But don't quote me on that. To be honest, I'm not sure exactly where that was, where exactly in Cali that that pertains to. But nonetheless, it's all a further omen of what's coming to America. Okay, because eventually they're gonna demonize us. They'll be putting our faces on billboards with cash rewards and so forth. You see? And the people that are spiritually and emotionally invested in America are going to be more than willing to sell us out, even our so-called family members and spouses of those who are not of the elect. As Yahushua said, he came to set a variance between households. Case in point. So there's a great division going on in America right now, politically, okay, financially, a part of the the war of the upper class and the lower class. That's why, Jake, these 2/3 Jakes would be hunting you upper echelon, upper class people. Okay, including those of which they know where you live. Okay, so this is a time which we're living in. Great anarchy, mayhem, destruction, pandemonium out here. Okay, fear, faithlessness, hopelessness. That's gonna cause a lot of people to commit suicide, man. So this is part of that death that Chuck Schumer was ultimately telegraphing, unbeknownst to him or not. All right. So I'm gonna segue over to Psalm 73:5. Okay, and it says, "They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men." All right. And this is the sentiment of Esau Edom. This is mainly his position. Okay. Through so-called white privilege. Okay. The complete opposite of redlining. Okay. Really having no care in the world. So you Edomites, you two-time loser Edomites that are, impoverished, homeless. Okay. You're that's a shame for the fact that this is your empire. And it's only going to get worse for you. Okay. The more this place continues to plummet financially, morally, which this place is never moral, but people are going to lose more of that. So whatever dignity this place has is going to be out of there, man. Because it's going to be, everyone's going to be, every one of the wicked is going to be fighting for themselves. They're going to be fending for themselves, man. Okay. Especially Edomites, including you so-called white nationalists, you good old boys. A lot of you going to turn on yourselves. Okay. So this is here's a point, Psalm 73:8. They are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. They speak loftily. So just for the fact that this devil will refer to this bill as a big, beautiful spending bill. What's so beautiful about it? When it's clear that the terms of this bill, okay, through the cutting of the Medicaid, the slashing of the Medicaid, the Social Security, affecting the elderly of our people. The elderly in general, but mainly the elderly of our people who are mainly predominantly impoverished, and the poverty of our people that rely on these government assistance programs being affected, which so happens to predominantly pertain to the so-called people of color that they mentioned, which are Israelites, so-called Negroes and indigenous people. Okay. All right. Suffering by way of that redlining by design. So being this clear, they're being affected more so than other demographics of people. What makes this bill so beautiful? This is part of Esau speaking loftily concerning oppression, right in our faces, man. But 2/3 of our people who are reprobates, okay, are going to miss the message. Okay, and they're going to get caught with their pants down when all hell breaks loose, and they're going to be put to death. Okay, either by these Gurger troops, these blue helmets. Okay, these so-called vigilante groups. Okay, going to be looking to take out their frustrations on their fellow man, or even Esau's AI androids. Okay, there's going to be snares of death everywhere in the times we're approaching. So this is Psalm chapter 140 and verse 11. And it reads, "Let not an evil speaker be established in the earth. Evil shall hunt the violent man to overthrow him." Okay. And Esau Edom is the epitome of violence, carnality, through his blessing the sword, which is what his military industrial complex further represents, his intelligence agencies. All right. Assassinating these leaders of these foreign nations, for those foreign leaders of those particular countries not playing ball, subject themselves under this Western authority, okay, of this satanic NWO agenda, okay, all right, and his AI androids, okay, this is a great time of trouble that we're approaching, okay, that's really going to further, contributing to the downfall of Esau Edom's rulership, okay. So this is why? Because he's an evil speaker, speaking blasphemy against the Lord Yahweh Shemashai, further proclaiming himself to be God. It says in 2 Thessalonians 2:4, which was a sentiment, the talking points of the sentiment of that damn pencil neck, sodomite, Amalekite, Yuval Noah Harari. Okay, saying that they no longer need God, or so many words, and saying that they can piss God off as much as they want. Okay. So this is Psalm 140:11. "Let not an evil speaker be established in the earth. Evil shall hunt the violent man to overthrow him." It says, "I know that the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yeshai will maintain the cause of the afflicted and the right of the poor." Okay, because Yahweh by Shem Yeshai is our place of refuge in the time of trouble. Okay, through his name, the strong tower in Proverbs 18:10. That was only given to the elected of the Israelites, that whose lips can only utter the name of the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. Okay. So this is Proverbs 12:20. And it says, "Deceit is in the heart of them that imagine evil, but to the counselors of peace is joy. All right. So the deceit lies in the hearts of them that imagine evil, that conspires evil. Okay. Including these devils through their devices, through their politics, through their CIA programs. Okay. Through the fast food eateries or GMOs. Okay. The chemtrails in the air. All right. The music industry, mainly through rap, headed by Amalek, the Alphabet Mafia headed by Amalek, I just brought out. You see, all this social engineering of their psychological operations, okay, is a part of their satanic devices. Matter of fact, Salaki, let me go back to Isaiah 32:7. Get that word for devices. All right, in Elisha Kadash. All right, which is Zamah, okay, meaning plan, device, evil plan. All right, including these evil devices such as incest of fornication, licentiousness, adultery of fornication, harlotry of fornication. Okay, a woman being a harlot, laying down with multiple partners except for her one husband. Okay, according to the marriage laws, women was only supposed to have one husband, but that's not the case in America. Okay, because this place is the sinful kingdom. It also mentions idolatry, including the whole concept of transhumanism, that a man can be his own god by being fused with Esau's machines. Okay, by fusing themselves with AI, including the chip. That's why the vast majority, is going to easily fall for Esau's satanic devices, because their minds are conformed to the world that was given to the hands of the wicked under Esau's enchantments. Okay, through these satanic on behalf of these satanic devices. So let's get the root word of the Hebrew word zamah, which is zamam. All right, zamam. Okay, which is which is a verb to have a thought or plan. Okay, to plot of evil intent. See? So this is what Trump's big beautiful bill consists of. An evil intent to destroy people that look like her. Okay, whose bloodline would so happen to go back to derive back to the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, for not all melanated people are Israelites, but the people of color they're referring to are our people, the Israelites, so-called Negroes and indigenous people. Because Esau likes to use political optics and so forth. But through the context of him mentioning the people of color, he's referring to our people. For those who are able to read between the lines. Okay, so as I said here, once again, all right, it said, food insecurity advocates warn that these policy shifts disproportionately impact low-income families and communities of color who already face structural barriers to employment, healthcare, and housing. Once again, on behalf of redlining, another satanic device of the evil plot to destroy our people. Okay, so this is why we need this is why we need a savior. Okay, we can't save ourselves from these devils, man, because we have no power here, by way of the curses in Deuteronomy 28 chapter. So this is back in Proverbs 12 and 20. Said, deceit is in the heart of them that imagine evil, but to the counselors of peace is joy. And really the counsel of peace of the prophets. Okay, seen on the highways and the hedges, bring forth the good tidings, the gospel to the nation of Israel, that the kingdom of heaven is coming, a time of everlasting peace and righteousness. Okay, for peace it can only be achieved through righteousness. So this is Proverbs 12 and 21. It says, there shall no evil happen to the just, but the wicked shall be filled with mischief. Okay, matter of fact, let me get this precept. Just came to my mind. Let me see. Proverbs 20:17. Bread of deceit is sweet to a man, but afterwards his mouth shall be filled with gravel, which is symbolic of death. Okay, because Esau is so adamant about carnal bread, about abundance. Okay, hence why he seized the gold. Okay, he's been taking over the farming industry through William Gates specifically, for example, buying up all the farmland because Esau's a covetous niggard. Okay, But soon, okay, his mouth will be filled with gravel, which is, further symbolic of death. Him, reaping what he has sown. Okay, through his death covenant, that covenant with death in Isaiah 28 chapter, through his wine of fornication being that Western philosophy that he's been hiding under for so long to profess, and declare himself as God on earth, as a savior of the earth. Okay, hiding his evil plot through his satanic devices. That is further exposing him, including AI. Okay, case in point, ChatGPT, part of those evil devices, is further exposing the lies of this damn devil. Okay, because he further confirming that he has lost control of his empire. Okay, so get this preset on the board. Oh, that's fire. Brother, be like-minded, brother Kawas Malak, Shalom, Yahweh Shem Shabrakatah. All right, brother, put up St. Matthew 12 and 25. It says, and Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself should not stand. All right, that's fire, priest, Malak the water. All right, and that's the case in the modern day sense in the case of the Edomites, including, Elon departing from the Trump administration. This is another ensign. Okay, because everything is spiritual at the end of the day. Okay, brother GMS, y'all stop. Hopefully, like 777 put up Sirach 33 and 1. There shall no evil happen unto him that feareth the Lord, Yahweh by Shem Yashai. But a temptation, even again, he will deliver him. And we're facing heavy temptations every day. Okay, through the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes. Okay, through the fornication that Esau promotes. Okay, this death culture further associated with black culture. Okay, being a thug, being a harlot. See, this is all a part of the facade of false living through the heightening of the flesh being promoted that a lot of people fall for. Okay, why? Because the majority of these people, the vast majority, are wicked, and it says in Exodus 23 and 2, follow not a multitude to do evil. You see. Case in point, somebody voted for Trump. Let me go vote for Trump. Why? There's a family member of mine that I've been telling the truth for years, over a decade now, and they still get angry at me for not voting because whatever the spirit had me attempt to feed them has gone through one ear and out the other, because their mind is to conform to this place. Okay, case in point. So, just another example of the vanity of having one's mind conform to this place, because this place is going to hell. This place is circling the drain, America, Babylon the Great. So this is back in Proverbs 12 and 21. There shall no evil happen to the just, but the wicked shall be filled with mischief. Lying lips are abomination to the Lord, Yahweh by Shem Yashai, but they that deal truly are his delight. See? This further confirms that Edom is a walking abomination, a habitual and blatant liar at the expense of many lives. Okay? And no concern of his at the expense of these many lives coming from his lies, through his politics and so forth, all for the intentions of destroying our people. Okay, so this is Psalm 71 and 10. It says, for mine enemies speak against me, and they that lay wait for my soul take counsel together. And our main enemy, our arch nemesis, Esau, Edom, okay, who sought out to destroy his brother Jacob and his descendants. Because when Esau declared war on Jacob, he declared war on his entire bloodline. And that's why this devil hates us to this day, by way of our forefather Jacob supplanting him out of the blessing, according to that perpetual hatred he has towards us in Amos 1:11. This is the real reason why he's pursuing us. Okay, because these devils know who we are. Okay, the upper echelons of them. All right. Psalm 71:11, saying, the Most High God Yahweh by Shem Yashai have forsaken him. Persecute and take him, for there is none to deliver him. Now, that aligns with what it says in Jeremiah 15:7. Okay, they say we offend not. We offend not. They sin against you. They sin against you, Lord. Remember what you devils neglect. What you devils have neglected is that you took it too damn far. As is prophesied in the book of Obadiah. Yeah, Micah 7:9 says we're supposed to bear the indignation, okay, of the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yashai for our transgression against the law, statutes, commandments. but you took it too far, man. You butchered us. You tortured us. You do even through these conspiracies to do so, through the Tuskegee experiment, through these CIA programs, we become guinea pigs to you. So now these curses bestowed upon us are starting to be, transitioned over to you, pursuant to Deuteronomy 30:7. This is Psalm 71 and 12. O power, Yahweh by Shemeshai, be not far from me, O my power. Yahweh by Shemeshai, make haste for my help. And this is exactly what the Lord Yahweh by Shemeshai is doing by speeding up the times we're living in. Okay. Pursuant to St. Matthew, the 24th chapter. Okay. Let me get that real quick. St. Matthew 24 and 24. For there shall rise false Mashiachs, false anointed ones, and false prophets, and shall shew great signs of wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. That's not what I wanted. Salaki, verse 22. And except those days should be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be short, man. These days are going by like seconds, man. I woke up this morning at 6 in. Now it's damn near 1:30 in the afternoon, man. Because of the fulfillment of this prophecy for the elect's sake to be saved. Okay. So therefore it confirms we don't have very much longer here. So we take great joy in the downfall of this devil's empire and you devils following with this empire. Okay. Created to destroy our people. This is Psalm 71 and 13. Let them be confounded and consumed that are adversaries to my soul. Let them be covered with reproach and dishonor that seek my hurt. And that dishonor is of that shameful spewing being cast upon your glory. Pursuing Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. Okay, including you devils being further revealed as scoundrels. I just read about, in Isaiah the 32nd chapter. You being looked down upon, you being, you looked about as untrustworthy. Okay, by your vile, profane lifestyle, which is a death style. Okay, fucking over everyone every chance you get because you have a scarcity mindset. Even fucking over your own people. See? Once again, that's why these so-called white nationalist devils are rising up against you. Okay, your Karens are bugging out through the Me Too movement, rising up against you. Okay, through the Harvey Weinstein scandal, the Jeff Epstein scandal, that DJT is further associated with. Okay, so these are all ensigns of your downfall. This is Psalm 71 and 14. But I will hope continually and will yet praise thee more and more. Okay, that's to the Spirit. And the brother put up. He posted a precept in the same chapter I'm reading from. Before I get that, let me get this precept. The brother Tazwan put up is Sirach 36 and 8. Make the time short, remember the covenant, and let them declare thy wonderful works. And exactly what the prophet is doing. Okay. Glorifying the wonderful works of Yahweh by Shemeshai. All right. Making sure his name is exalted, as it says in Isaiah 12 and 4. Simultaneously tearing down the strongholds and stumbling blocks of this devil, of Mount Seir. Hence why we were commanded to prophesy against Mount Seir in Ezekiel 35th chapter. So this sound doctrine, okay, includes the condemnation, okay, of this devil, Esau Edom, the man who sent his son of perdition for destroying the earth. All right. This is brother Kawas Malak, be like mine to put up Psalm 140 verses 1 and 2 says it says, deliver me, O Lord, Yahweh by Shemeshai, from the evil man, preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war. Okay, because Esau's conspiracies of war are mainly directed towards our people. Okay, through the devices, such as the devices I mentioned earlier. For a further example, Psalm 140 and 4, keep me, O Lord, Yahweh by Shemeshai, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent man who have purpose to overthrow my goings. That's why in Lamentation, the 4th chapter says they hunt our streets, man, through the law enforcement. Okay. I remember, over a decade ago, my car broke down on my way to work. You know what I'm saying? To a plantation. I was walking around in dress slacks and dress shoes, and this damn devil pulled me over, saying that I fit the description of somebody robbing a store or some shit like that. Then he called backup because of that racial profiling, man. It's part of that redlining that we have to go through. That's a part of this devil hunting our steps everywhere we go. That's a part of the curse in Deuteronomy 28, where it says, you shall have no assurance of your lives. Okay, let me get that real quick. Okay, not anticipated for this lesson to be that long, but the spirit does what it does, man. Okay, this is Deuteronomy 28 and 65. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord Yahweh by Shem shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. So we have no rest here. It says in Micah 2:10, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, for it is greatly polluted. Everything about this place is polluted, spiritually and literally. Okay. Verse 66, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. All right, and this could further apply to, driving around, you see a damn centurion behind you, a modern day cop, and you may get nervous, despite not doing anything wrong. Why? Because of one of these curses. It'll mean what? We're under enemy lines right now. Okay. So, all right, brother, put up Psalm 140 and 5. The proud have hid a snare for me in cords. They have spread a net by the wayside. They have set gins for me. Salah, all right, traps, snares. Okay, which what snare means, trap. So this is back in Psalm 71 and 15. And it reads, my mouth shall shew forth thy righteousness and thy salvation all the day, for I know not the numbers thereof. All right. So that's pretty much the point. And we're showing forth our righteousness by exalting Yahweh by Shemeshai, by lifting up our voices like a trumpet, as it says in Isaiah 50:81, and not sparing, not sparing the wicked of our people. By enlightening them on what is wicked. Okay, through the righteous instruction of the scriptures. Okay. Whether they see that as a burden or not. This is Psalm 46, and this entire chapter is fire. Okay. I'd rather just get to the point, but it's kind of hard not to read it from the top. So I'm going to go ahead and start from the top. It says, the Most High God, Yahweh, by Shemeshai, is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble, mainly through his name, calling on his name in faith, which is our strong tower. Okay. Percent of Proverbs 18 and 10 says, therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. Salah. There is a river, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of the Most High God, Yahweh, by Shem Yashai, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High Yahweh, by Shem Yashai. The Most High God, Yahweh, by Shem Yashai, is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. The Most High God, Yahweh, by Shem Yashai, shall help her, and that right early. All right, which referring to, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh's spiritual bride, Yasharallah, Israel, through that marriage covenant, that pledge we made with him, which is a blood oath that we broke. Okay, it's mentioned in Ezekiel Exodus, the 24th chapter, going into how when we broke that blood oath of that holy covenant, our blood was required to be spilled. And that's the real reason why the transatlantic slave trade happened in Deuteronomy 28 and 68. This is why we continue to be persecuted by our enemies in the street, being mowed down by Esau's modern day Roman centurions through these cops. See? All right. This is Psalm 46 and 6. It says, the heathen raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. All right. So not only these people are being melted, all right, in the sense of them being proverbial wood, okay, being burnt up and melted by this proverbial fire, this truth, as it says in Jeremiah 5:14, but they're ultimately going to be burnt up with the sword out of the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahshai's mouth. I'm going to get here. Revelation 2:16. Repent, or else I will come unto thee quickly, and will fight against them with the sword of my mouth. All right, which is the contrary to heat, being unleashed out of the fathership of all chariots, that Yahushua would, descend back into this realm of earth, and prophesied by our forefather Ezra in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, that our forefather Ezra likened to the size of his chariot into the equivalent of the size of a mountain because it was so massive. So this is a part of Yahushua now returning as a man in Isaiah 47:3 that you devils are going to have to face. Okay. Being devoured. Back in Psalm 46, and that includes the rest of the other heathen nations and your respective militaries, okay, that will fight alongside Esau's military to try to overthrow Yahushua and get burnt the hell up, including 2/3 Jakes that take that chip. Everyone who takes that chip, including 2/3 Israelites, and even you Jakes, you Israelites, that would be in Esau's military. Okay, this is Psalm 46:7. The Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahshai of hosts is with us. The power of Jacob is our refuge. Salah. Come, behold the works of the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahshai. What desolations he had made in the earth. Okay, here's one of my favorite precepts dealing with chariots. Psalm 46:9. He maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow and cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariot and the fire. Okay, because these chariots are like burning wheels, as I mentioned in Daniel's 7th chapter. Daniel 7:9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, Yahweh, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as a burning fire. As burning fire, talking about the chariots. Okay. That's why when Yahushua came on the scene during the first Exodus, he appeared in a chariot, through the chariot. It said when he appeared, when the chariot appeared, it appeared as a pillar of fire by night. Okay. And a cloud by day. Matter of fact, let me look that up just to avoid butchering it. Let me see here. See if I can find it real quick. Yep. Exodus 13:21. And the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahshai went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire. That's what I was looking for. In a pillar of fire. Okay, going into them burning wheels, them chariots. All right. It says to give them light to go by day and night. All right. That is the Exodus, the first chapter, also describes these chariots by way of by its, the color, the interchangeable colors and whatnot. Okay. Of the particular fire, so to say. Okay. How they appear at night. Okay. And all right. Further going into the burning chariots in Daniel 7:9 and Psalm 46:9. Okay, the angelic vehicles of Yahweh by Shem Yahshai, they're going to burn America, Babylon the Great the hell up. All right, let's get this precept off the comment board. Brother GMS, y'all stop. Hopefully, 777 put up Isaiah 64:12. And when the melting fire burneth, the fire causeth the waters to boil, to make thy name known to thine adversaries, that the nations may tremble at thy presence. It's one of my favorite chapters going into the chariots. All right, and you can really read the first 4 verses. Okay, matter of fact, I'm going to have to do that. All right, this entire, let me go ahead and get that. Isaiah 64, and start from the top. Oh, that thou wouldest rend the heavens, that thou wouldest come down, that the mountains might flow down at thy presence. And when the melting fire burneth, the fire causeth the waters to boil, to make thy name known to thine adversaries, that the nations may tremble at thy presence. When thou didst terrible things, which we looked not for, thou camest down, the mountains flow down at thy presence. All right, going into these chariots. Okay, further being likened to the size of mountains, mainly the actual fathership of chariots that our forefather Ezra prophesied about. Okay, bring destruction to these governments. Okay, these rulerships. Okay, all right. For the term mountain can also refer to a government or a rulership. All right. So ironically, Esau's mountain is going to be casted down by the ultimate mountain of Yahweh by Shem Yashai, which is that fathership. All right. Through the sword that's going to come out of Yahushai's mouth, out of this fathership. This is Isaiah 64:4. For since the beginning of the world, men have not heard nor perceived by the ear, neither had the eye seen or power, Yahweh by Shem Yashai beside thee, what he had prepared for him that waited for him. Okay, but by way of this chariot is how, the elect that remain will be translated. And even those who died in Yahushua will rise first on his chariot. Okay, and those that remain alive at the time, okay, are going to further fulfill wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter, okay, of the strangeness of our salvation when our enemies beheld us being translated up into the chariots, Adar and Ratazar, everyone on the comment board, including myself. All right. So let's go back to let me see here. Go back to Psalm 46:10. It says, "Be still and know that I am the Most High God, Yahweh by Shem Yoshai. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth." All right, because you heathen nations will further be reintroduced to the legend of Alashadja. Okay, the alias that the wicked had appointed onto the Heavenly Father Yahweh during the first Exodus. Okay, but bringing that destruction. Okay, upon the Egyptian Hamites. All right, through that through that miracle. All right, during the time of the first Exodus, when he brings destruction in this earth by way of this lake of fire. All right, the second death that will consume those mainly who've taken that ship, the mark of the beast, pursuing the Revelation, the 14th chapter. Psalm 46:11. The Lord Yahweh by Shem Yashai of hosts is with us. The power of Jacob is our refuge. Salah. So the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The God of the Bible is only and exclusively the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and his descendants being the children of the inheritance. All right, the same children of the curses in Deuteronomy 28 chapter. Fred identified as so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, Israelite foreigners of the same bloodline, in which he elected them will be saved in these last days. All right, in the midst of trouble by calling on the names of Yahweh by Shem Yashai in faith, truth, and sincerity. So I'm going to end this lesson off on a note. Pray this lesson was for the edifying, exhorting to elect, and give all praises, glory, and infinite honor to my power, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom was God of the living, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Baruch Hudash, for blessing me to spirit to do this video. To praise for the edifying, exhorting to elect. Wa, Shalom, Alabachayim, Shabbat Yashid Abadash, Yashirah, meaning peace to the elect of the house of David, of the nation of Israel. Abab Abal, soon and very soon. All right, the water feet, Akim tuning in, as well as the precepts. And on to the next one.